Well, guys, we're doing really good with getting things ready for the winter here. I have still some odd jobs left to do. So we've got the roof de-icing wire complete. The only thing that's needed for that is the extension cables to actually plug it in. I've got to empty these lines, the hoses, make sure they're empty and ready for winter. And I've got to work on the canopy here for the RV. I've got to get it back in place. But I had some tears on the inside, or some wear marks on the inside, that I'm not very happy with. So what I need to do is get that canopy down and spread it out on the grass here or something, and try to figure out just exactly what it is that's been working away at wearing the inside of that canopy and cover it. I think I know what it is. There's a old antenna mount and stuff up on top of the trailer, and I'm pretty sure with the flapping around of the cover, that's what's wearing it through. But I need to confirm that and put some kind of patch or something over that spot, and then put something up on top of the trailer over top of these things to prevent them from damaging the cover any farther. But as I say, a little too cool and too windy to do that today. But one of the other jobs that I want to do is up at the side of the old garden shed. That's where all the steel scrap is and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to get the trailer hooked up to the ATV here and get it up and parked in that position, so I can start cutting apart all those bits and pieces up there and get them thrown into the trailer so I can get that taken to the steel scrap. That's all the steel up there that I want to get rid of, all my scrap steel. So we'll get that trailer hooked up and get moving on with that job. So this is all my steel scrap sitting here, or metal scrap. I'm gonna gather up and throw in the trailer and get it out of here, because this is, of course, the old garden shed, and that's the shed that's coming down and expanding. So it's not going to be that much bigger than what it is now, but it is going to be higher. All right, let's get the trailer backed in here and start loading this stuff up. Well, I'm slowly getting it picked up and into the trailer. There's quite a bit here, and I've got all these frames that came off of the equipment that I've ordered in the past, such as the Woodland Mills sawmill, that type of thing. So these are a bit of a nuisance, and they're a bit big, so I have to cut them up. I'm running down on batteries. That's sharp. All right, batteries are done. Let's go see what the charger's doing. So we are on our way down into the ravine that I'm going to be using for dumping the slab wood. So it's going to go in this, the slab wood goes into this low spot down here where it can compost down. It's a good recycling way and good for the ground and everything else too. The trick is getting to this spot. Well, that's a bit of a surprise. Looks like a spruce that's down there. It's right under the power lines. Holy mackerel. How on earth this came down without taking the power lines, I don't know. That's pretty amazing. But that's why I've got the chainsaw. We'll cut this stuff up and get it off to the side. And then I also want to cut all of this stuff out. These are thorn bushes that are growing in here around this hydro pole. And that is part of my path for coming back in here. So I will probably get back here with the whippersnipper with my carbide sawtooth blade on it and just mow this stuff down. But first off, we got to get rid of some of the bigger stuff, like this tree. That is a heavy saw. So you need to be careful to really look at these logs that you're trimming. It's just laying on the ground, so it's not going to drop on your head, but it's laying on a bunch of branches. So you've got to watch how you trim it down, or you could end up jamming your saw, or worse yet, jamming your leg. So this has got its weight on a few of these branches here, so I've really got to be careful as to how I cut those branches. Otherwise, I could end up walking back to the shop trying to get the gear I need to unjam my saw. So we'll just go at it a bit at a time and keep taking it apart. Well, we've got a few more limbs to cut that way. I'll get the rest of this cleared out of the way, and then we're going to head back and get the whippersnipper with the saw blade on it. of thorn bushes. One of the things you got to be careful of when you're doing this kind of thing is that you don't leave these sharp nubs sticking up out of the ground. You'll ruin your tires. So I'm trying to kind of knock them in half and then get right down to the bottom and clip them right off at ground level. I've paid for that a couple of times by hitting rocks and wrecking blades, but cheaper to wreck the occasional blade than it is to get a flat tire on the ATV, as a big puncture like that would probably ruin the tire. But we're getting there. It's hot work. Well, there you go. Thorn bushes are all gone. Everything is piled up over here, and they will eventually compress down and compost away. But boy, those thorns are a real issue back here when you're trying to work on the trails. They're just such a pain. They rip you apart. Now, the one thing to keep in mind when you're cutting these things, the bush blade that you use has got to be a carbide tip blade. I'll show you mine here. So this is what I'm using to do my brush trimming and grass trimming too as well. This is a Stihl FS55, I think is the number that I see on the end of it. Now the brush blade that came with it was a pretty cheap blade, just a steel blade, and really wasn't very good. So I upgraded to this blade, which is a 10-inch 40 tooth blade, and it's not carbide, it's a hardened steel tip on there, but I wasn't really that happy with it. It dulled and chipped quite quickly, so I changed to a different blade after this one. So I currently have this 8-inch 80 tooth carbide tipped blade on here, and it really works well. Now it takes a bit of power, and this trimmer does seem to have the power that I need, so this works really well. Now I got 2 of these. This one has been on here for a little over a year now, so it's done a lot of work, and it's still good, and I still have one more blade to go through. But I think once I go through these, this is an 8-inch blade. I'll put some information up about this blade right here so you can see the information on it from Amazon. But once I'm through both of these blades, I will probably upsize to a 10-inch blade, because this will handle a 10-inch blade, and I think that might give it a little better of a cut yet. But this is, as you can see, this has a lot of teeth and it's got a lot of cutting power. It really works very well for going through this brush that I've been going through, even small trees and that type of thing. It works great at. So next on the list for winterizing is getting the RV covered up. Now, I did not have a chance to get to anything with it this year, so it still needs work before it's used, but I still need to protect it for the winter. So we bought a cover last year, which I've got spread out here in the sun right now, and the cover showed up last year a day before we got a big winter storm. So I had to really rush to get it on, and it looks like it has worked very well. I was concerned that I had some damage to the inside of it, but I can find nothing that indicates any sign of damage. It all looks in good shape. I'm relieved about that. But the reason I was worried about that was the antenna up on top here. I'll show you that. So this antenna system has got this piece right here, which I was more than a bit worried about it cutting through the cover, but we got lucky and it looks like there is no damage. But I'm not taking a chance with it this year, so I am going to make up a frame with a piece of styrofoam on top of it to go over top of this, and that should protect it, because all the rustling around you want isn't going to cause that cover to get cut by styrofoam. So there's my frame all set to go with the styrofoam fastened on the top of it. Got a couple of cutouts in it here to make room for different wires and things that are on the roof. But this should do the job quite nicely. So let's take it up there and see if we can set it in place. Well, that should work very nicely. I'm pleased with that. So next job is to get the cover on. That's going to be fun. It's a big cover to handle by myself, but we'll get it on. I think it's time for a quick bite of lunch before I do battle with that cover. And it is a good day for it. There is some breeze, but it's not too bad. So hopefully I can get it up in place here without too much fight. So there we are. The RV is all covered and ready for winter. So hopefully next year I'll have a little more time to actually get some work done on this. We really do want to get out camping in it, but it does need some work. So come spring, we'll pull the cover off, and that will be another job to start on. Well, my friends here came back while I was putting the cover on the trailer, and they started circling around and clucking and making all sorts of noise. So yeah, I know what they want. We'll get a little treat out for them. That's it. That's all you get. They are wild turkeys, but they get pretty used to you. This is a very small group. I've had over 30 of them show up recently. So just kind of giving them an idea of where they're going to be able to get a little something to eat during the winter. And I'll do the same thing as I did last year, is I'll try to keep this area fairly clear of snow to make it easy for them to come in and get something to eat through the winter, as I know it can be tough on animals sometimes. And I'll get deer that will start showing up too. I had 4 in the yard the other day, and they're poking around, but they looked pretty fat and pretty healthy, so I think they've had a good year. But these guys will be happy to take a hand out anytime. I think it's time to get the logging trailer set up and ready to start hauling this stuff away. And I think that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you on the trails the next time.